Welcome back, guys. Let's start with the Ansible course. So today, what we're going to cover, we will going to talk about inventory files, and I will talk about all the commands. How you're going to create it, and it's like we talk about very details. Okay, because if you're learning Ansible, and you must aware about these things. Okay, what we have to going to cover here. So Ansible inventory file, a file that contains all the remote Ansible nodes information, right? Whatever you're going to manage with your inventory file. So you have a control machine, but you have to maintain those servers through single point of sitting on the one place. You can manage thousands number of servers. So in Ansible, an inventory file is a simple text file, right? I mean, we just create dot using vi or touch command. We create an inventory file, and accordingly we have to enter our host information. Okay, so this is the text file that contains a list of host names or IP addresses for of the servers you want to manage. Additionally, we can organize hosts into groups and assign variable to them. The default location for the inventory file is in Ansible, basically /etc/Ansible/host. But if you want to manage some particular different but you can specify different file using the -i options when running Ansible command. So in this example, if you see here, I'm using a -i dot inventory dot .ini file, right? Which I'm managing, but it's not on my this location, right? etc/Ansible host location. This is a other location, right? So let's little bit talk about the basic example of Ansible inventory file. So etc Ansible/host, or you can use -i giving anything. So whenever you're running this command, a ping command or anything, I mean, you want to deploy some playbook as well. So you have to just mention in your adapt commands, right? So this is the example of web server, and it's giving the web Ansible underscore host is equal to the IP address of this, and particular user is equal to user you have given here. Same way for the web 2, same way for the DB server, same way for the load balancer. So this is how you can name in your Ansible files, Ansible inventory file, right? So basically here, DB server, load balancer, and web server, that is the group names. Under this group, we are managing maybe many servers, right? So and load balancer one are host name aliases for the respective servers. So Ansible host, Ansible user, or Ansible specific variable assigned to each host. The variable help Ansible know how to connect to each server, IP addresses, host name, and username. So if you already defined here, you not supposed to, you just run your playbook or whatever you want to deploy. You can easily use, so you don't need to do extra configuration with them. Okay, move to the next slide. So what are Ansible inventory and their types? So type of Ansible inventories are, there are generally two types of Ansible inventories depending on host management, static and dynamic. So let's talk about the static inventories. So a static inventory is a text-based file that consists of a list of managed host servers and IP addresses, usually bundled in groups. Okay. So static inventories are usually stored in the form of INI or a YAML file. So INI is style inventory. This is the traditional and simple format. File extension is typically .ini. Uses section to define groups and individual hosts. So you see here .ini or YAML file. This is the type of this particular static inventories, right? Moving to the next. So inventory file example, Ansible inventories and their types. So example INI file, web server. You just create on one file and a web Ansible, and you're giving all the information over here, the simple way, right? In a text format, you can say. So next topic is what are Ansible inventories and their types. So YAML inventory is a more human readable and is often preferred to complex setup. File extension is typically YAML or .yaml or .yml. Uses YAML syntax for defining groups and host. So you see here YAML scripting. YAML, like you can, if you want to write a kind of the YAML kind of way. Okay, not in the text file or .ini file. So this is what we all under the all we have to use hosts. And what are the hosts? Is web1 define your username, your IP addresses, and your username. So this is how you have to define your IP addresses and for the same way, web1 with DB1. So DB1 we are defining here Ansible host, and this example same way we are whatever we did on the side children, web server, host, and web1, DB server, host, and DB1. Okay. Dynamic interviews, dynamic inventories. So instead of a static file, you can use a script or program to generate the inventory dynamically. So dynamic inventories allow you to integrate with cloud platform, databases, or other systems. So this is so whenever you have to use the inventory file for the cloud service provider, we have to go with the dynamic kind of interface. So there is a question asked during the interviews, what is the type of inventory file in Ansible? So you have to explain this static and dynamic, and how we're going to use static and how we're going to use a dynamic. So example here, AWS, you might have a script that queries AWS for the list of instances and there is details, right? So oftentimes when the host servers are being created and decommissioned, like in a cloud computing service, it is not feasible to edit the static inventory repeatedly. In this case, a scripted inventory is used that dynamically keep track of that added and decommissions managed host. This is called a dynamic inventory, right? So you also use a pattern to define group dynamically. For example, host ranges, you have to give the ranges. Instead of explicitly listing each host, we can use ranges of dynamically generation like web server. So web server, the web is 1.3, something kind of your IP is here, .example.com, right? Here, web1 colon 03 .example.com expands to web hyphen 01 example.com and web hyphen 02 example.com and web hyphen 03 example.com. So you are writing a 3 servers in just a single line. So this is the example of the dynamically defining your ranges of the particular in the inventory file. In addition to the static INI style inventory, Ansible also supports dynamic inventories, which can be generated by script databases or other external sources. This provides flexibility in managing dynamic infrastructure. So remember that managing inventory is a crucial part of Ansible, as it is define the scope of host on which your Ansible playbook will run. So whenever you run your playbook, your ad hoc commands, it will find going to find those servers details, right? So accordingly, we have to choose the format that best fits our needs and the complexity of for our infrastructure. YAML is often favored for more extensive and dynamic setup due to its readable and flexibility. Right. So dynamic inventories are especially useful in dynamic and cloud environments. So remember this point, right? So this is some command I written here. So we have to just go through it. To list the host inside inventory file, use command. So this is the command you must aware about it. So in Ansible, inventory is the list of managed nodes that Ansible will target during its execution. Here are some commands and options related to Ansible inventories, right? So what we have to check the inventory configuration. To see the current configuration setting for the inventory, you can use the following command. So Ansible hyphen config list hyphen pipe. This is the pipe command, grep, and your inventory name. So how are you going to do this? So check the configuration. So let's type this command and try to. I don't know why it's giving the proper result or not. Okay, so let's me try this command on my control machine. Ansible hyphen config, right? So Ansible hyphen config, right? What the command is? Space list. Give the pipe. And grep means we have to give the information. Grep about your inventory.nia. So let's see what it's giving. Okay, let me type this default command again. The default inventory plugin path is I have not defined it yet. Okay, so that's why it's giving me this kind of error. Let's move to and run this command because I have not set up this. So list the host Ansible inventory hyphen list. So whatever you have Ansible hyphen inventory. What the command is? Space hyphen hyphen list. So it will give you no inventory was passed, only implicit local host is available. So what is this? This is what you have to learn over here, right? So in the main configuration file, where you can find this configuration file, let me go back to the slide on this path. This path, etc Ansible host. So I have not defining here any path. That's why it's not showing. But if I run this command, if anything I have entered here, you will get it easily. Okay. Okay, so these are the basic command and you have to try for this. Okay, so an Ansible inventory is to see variable defined for a specific host. So you have to give Ansible hyphen inventory. So Ansible hyphen inventory, basically you have to use this and passing all the parameters here, hyphen hyphen host, name and list. Okay, so this is what you can do easily. Moving to the next, we have some more commands, list the groups, list to all the groups in the Ansible inventory, right? So if I run this command again, right, list hyphen I inventory. So it's give me some error like meta host was all children ungrouped. And now it's giving me the result of, because I run this ad hoc commands. I defined this particular hyphen I, use hyphen I, and in this inventory file. So it's saying meta host was all children ungrouped my host. My host is the name of my particular server. And under my host, I can see the one host is entered here. So this is what it defined, right? So this is what you can manipulate those commands, right? Suppose Ansible inventory hyphen hyphen graph. So what is this command going to do? Ansible hyphen hyphen graph. So only implicit localhost is available. So let me, if I can add hyphen I inventory. Yeah, so it's giving me the answer. So this is give me the information about like this. On group, my host, and like this. Okay. So you must aware about these commands, okay? For your practice, just do. So I mentioned here all this one. List host machine a pattern to list host machine matching a specific pattern. But this is the very I have added only one machine. So if you have a very you are working for a big company or big customer, right? So you have a very big list maybe. So accordingly you can find it easily which server is available, which server is not available. So Ansible inventory hyphen list YAML export. You can also get a YAML export file. Same way, to list the host inventory, invite the use for the command. So list host with a specific variable. That's what I showed you, to list host with a specific variable defined. Ansible inventory, this is the command, hyphen list, underscore, hyphen YAML, and export and grep, and you have to give the some variable name. Debug host information. So debug and see detailed information about a specific host. Ansible, you give the host name, hyphen M, debug, and this is the command you have to use. So these commands assumes you have an Ansible inventory file configured, adjust the command based on your specific inventory, structure and setup. The examples provides are for the command line, but you can also use similar parameters in Ansible playbook or roles for dynamic inventory management, right? So this is all about in this particular course, and we will next talk about our ad hoc commands. Prior to this, I will recommend, if you are familiar with the ChatGPT or not, you just try to giving some example of AWS cloud inventory file. Okay, so ChatGPT will tell you. Let's see what is giving. You see this? So this is how you have to define. So guys, this is very easy to learn Ansible, right? Let's complete first, then I will talk about this. Same way. Same way, whatever I'm doing for the on premises, you can use this way. Okay, so this is done. I mean, ChatGPT give me some little bit information about it. So let's discuss about it. So you to use the Ansible with an AWS, you can create an inventory file that dynamically generated host information from your AWS resources. Here are some example of AWS inventory file using AWS underscore EC2. So whatever AWS EC2 instances I have, I just create a file which is in INI format. Okay, AWS underscore EC2.yaml I have created, right? Then I have to use plugins colon AWS underscore EC2. You have to pass your access key and secret key. Then you have to choose the reasons, and in the reasons, maybe you have to use some tag names, right? In the keyed group. Okay, so key tag names and prefix tag names. So let's little bit talk about it. So in the example shows plugins AWS EC2 specify that we are using AWS EC2 plugin to dynamically generate inventory from AWS EC2 instances, AWS access keys, and AWS secret key. We are passing here at a forum AWS IAM access keys and secret key used to authenticate with AWS. Alternatively, we can use AWS credential file or IAM instance role for the authentication. Reasons you have to define. So obviously, if you're deploying EC2 instances or something you're doing, you have to define AWS reason and to search for the EC2 instances. Key Keyed group. Define group based on the EC2 instance tag. In this example, it's create group prefixed with tag name based on the value of the name tag attached to instances. So you can save the configuration in a file name, okay, and accordingly you have to manipulate with your requirement, right? Then you have to ping this command if you are pinging, and you before that you also have to do the same practice. Okay, you can use the inventory file Ansible command like this: Ansible all hyphen I. This is the inventory file name hyphen m ping. So this command will ping all hosts dynamically discovered from your AWS EC2 instance based on the configuration provided by AWS underscore EC2 file, right? So this is also make sure that your access key and private key with your actual IAM access account, and adjust other parameters are necessary based on your AWS setup. Additionally, ensure that you have the necessary permissions configured in your AWS IAM policies to use this, because in the cloud you got a lot of security, and sometimes you are not able to ping and all. Same way, some example I'm typing here, some example for Azure Linux machine, suppose. Let's see what is going. Hmm. This is very similar with the AWS, right? Same way. Same way you can also search for the Google. So you can get it easily. You don't need to suppose to go anywhere, because a chat GPT or AI is going to help us as your assistant. Okay, you're not if you are technically sound, you this is very help, and help you to complete your task very easily. So if I discuss a little bit, to use Ansible with Azure, you can create an inventory file the similar way with whatever we created. So Azure underscore RM. RM is your module, basically the plugins you can say which you're going to download. So specific that we are using Azure RM plugin to dynamically generate inventory from Azure resources. And authorize you have to resources auto. Keyword you have to use groups, tags name, and prefix the tags name. Okay. So with it can be Azure CLI credential, Azure service principal account, or managed service identity, or environment variables you can do. Okay. Key group is the same way, tag name you have to use to attach the resources. Okay. You can save this configuration in file name azure.rml or any other file name dot, which is YAML extension should be very, you have to be very clear. Okay. Then we can use the inventory file with Ansible command like this. Ping it, and same way it's going. Same way for the Google Cloud also, right? Same way we can write, give some, let me push for the Docker. Okay. Some example with Docker as well. So whatever you want, you just search it. Okay. Let's see what is written. So it's giving some, Azure resources with the Docker, but it's not taking the same way. So returning with the same result. Okay. Let me stop this. You see this? Now it's saying after using Ansible Docker, you can use Docker container. You go install Docker localhost So he's giving me the example of how to install the Docker and manage your Docker host. Okay. So this is how you can use this step-by-step configuration and try these things to work on it. Ansible hyphen localhost Docker playbook YAMLs also there. How many Dockers managing Docker specific with the playbook? So make sure Docker install on your local machine before running this playbook. Okay, so this is the playbook. So I will talk about next, after the ada commands, we will talk about how to create, playbooks and all. So we will come on this point. Okay, so see you guys on our next video with the ad hoc commands. Thanks for your time. Have a nice day.